Hello everyone, my name is Emilia Cortes, and I will be diving into the film adaptation of Nella Larsen's book, Passing, directed by Rebecca Hall. First and foremost, about the director. Rebecca Hall was born on May 3rd, 1982, and she's an actress best known for her roles in The Night House and The Prestige, as well as being a new screenwriter and director. Her first on-screen appearance is in her father's TV adaptation of The Chamomile Lawn in 1992 at just 10 years old. Another fun fact is that Passing is actually her first directorial debut, and this is most likely due to her mom's side of the family being of mixed race. Her grandfather was an African-American man who concealed his identity to avoid the terrors of Jim Crow laws, which is very similar to the themes and events that take place in the book and the film Passing. Moving on to the excerpt of interest. Leading up to the excerpt, Claire and Irene are having a discussion about their life leading up to the present. On the topic of children, Claire explains her anxiousness during her pregnancy due to her fear of her baby potentially turning out to be dark. Irene replies that her own children are dark, and Claire is dumbfounded as she assumed Irene followed in her footsteps of Passing. At minute 12:23, the conversation between Claire and Irene goes as is. So, have you ever thought to? What? I'm asking if you've ever thought of passing Renee. No. Why should I? I mean, for convenience occasionally, I suppose. But no. I just mean I've had everything I've ever wanted. The reason I chose this quote is because a few moments later, Claire's husband makes an appearance, and Irene, in a way, has to put what she said to the test. Irene is in no way shameful of her racial identity, and is not regretful for her decision to not pass. Yet, once John enters the scene and makes it obvious that he's ignorant and racist, Irene willingly passes as white, despite the fact she earlier told Claire that she doesn't have the need to pass. John, however, is unaware that his wife isn't forthcoming and honest about her racial background, and is continuously demeans and belittles the black community, and doesn't refrain from using racial slurs, even though he is talking to two colored women. It shows the complexity of living as a colored person during the era of Jim Crow, even as someone who is proud of their racial background. It's apparent that Irene holds herself to a higher degree due to her not folding to the societal pressures, but this interaction with John may reveal that she is not as secure about her identity as she thinks she is. Her intentions to pass with John may not be entirely the same as Claire's, but in a general sense, they do kind of align and are more similar than Irene may think. Even though Claire passes to gain protection, safety, as well as materialistic desires, and Irene passes for her safety as well, they both have the same goal of wanting tranquility and calmness in their lives. And Irene wasn't also only protecting herself. She was also protecting Claire's well-being. Even though the 1920s was home for the Harlem Renaissance, it was still highly segregated. The KKK had nearly about 3 million members during the time of the Renaissance, and Jim Crow laws limited access to opportunities to the lives of those in the black community. This system encouraged non-people of color, as well as those who are passing, to create a culture of violence and terror directed at the black community, so it's understandable why both women had the need to pass. The need to pass ties in with the upcoming question. In an interview with PBS NewsHour, Hall states, "It is not lost on me that the systems of white supremacy that encouraged my grandfather to pass as white are also the systems that I now benefit from as a white-presenting woman. There are privileges that come with looking how I look." Knowing that Claire's a mother and relating this quote back to the book, do you think is Claire's choice to pass for white self-destructive or empowering, and why? The second question, do you believe societal views on sex or gender had an impact on Claire's demise? Why or why not? And lastly, the last question is, how does the tone in Rebecca Hall's finale differ from Larsen's book? Does the book make the final scene more or less clear? Here are the citations. And thank you so much for listening, and I hope you all have a great rest of your summer.